Clock hour, joined by Landry Burdine. He's the sideline reporter for TCU football and also baseball, college baseball, and baseball aficionado. Joins us, Craig Smoak and David Smoak. Landry, what a gut-wrenching loss. The deep ground ball in the hole, just couldn't quite get footing to throw it. Hell of a run by TCU, like we've said about a lot of things they've done this year or this school year. Your thoughts about their trip to Omaha?
Yeah, still a little soon. I may be the first guy doing an interview after that game. I mean, there's a lot to process there. You know, the Frogs had plenty of chances, and just they just couldn't get a hit at the right time. Yeah, that timely hitting's been so key for them all season. But man, what a run! I think you said it. You know, I hosted the Sarlo show. You know, we have it at a barbecue joint, I think 5 or 6 times during the baseball season. And the last one that we had was right before the end of May, before the Texas series. And, you know, in large part, those shows were starting to become, you know, the mood was a little down, right? Because they were really thought to be out of the tournament altogether. And then, you know, after our last show, they go on a run of 19-2, and including a sweep of the Big 12 tournament, their regional and their super regional. So, I mean, it's just, you know, what a ride. And, you know, the athletic department, like you guys have said, you know, in the Big Three anyway this year for the Frogs, it's just been one hell of a year.
Landry, it's been tough for folks in Waco to see what Trey Richardson was doing there in purple and white and all of that. Man, especially with the baseball season the Bears had on top of that. But no, I mean, can you just kind of talk a little bit about him and what a player he is, what a personality he is? I mean, felt like I saw him fired up, making, you know, some play or another multiple times here over the last several weeks. Just what kind of a juice boost did he give TCU and their roster this season?
Well, first of all, I think you guys need to relax. Mitch Thompson's going to get that thing turned around in Waco pretty quick. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. That guy's a real deal. But, you know, Trey, it was really interesting. I got to get out to practice in the fall a fair amount. And for a guy that had just gotten to campus, right, he immediately just kind of – there are those guys that just kind of pop out to you, and they just radiate energy. And he was that guy, and he really took over – what at the time was probably the youngest center of a diamond, you know, in the country, with you know, Carson Bowen, the catcher, being a freshman, Anthony Silva, a freshman, and then here you got, you know, freshman pitching, and so for the Frogs to have a guy like that with a lot of expertise come in and a lot of leadership abilities was huge for them. And you know, he pretty much single-handedly won that Fayetteville Regional, which was, in my opinion, top 2 at least with difficulty as far as regionals. And you know, the way he kind of put the team on his back, it was incredible. But yeah, he was a frog killer, and as soon as he hit the portal, I think Kirk and Trey were telling me that Trey got a call within 3 minutes of him hitting the portal, and it was from Sarlos, and he was committed within 5. So you know, that was a matchup that I think those guys were ready for, and they were excited to have him on campus for sure.
How much also did it help with Sarlos? They go to the World Series, obviously. TCU had lost their coach to A&M and went down there to help the Aggies. But to get to the College World Series in, year 2, how much does that validate him?
Well, you know, he would never look at it that way. I mean, they won the regular season Big 12 championship last year, right? And so he's widely regarded as probably the best recruiter in the country. And, you know, he turned out – think about this. Kirk's from Northern California. His family has a winery there in Northern California. He turned down the Stanford job. Stanford, another team that was in the College World Series. He turned down Rice. He turned down, I think it was the pitching coach for the Yankees. And he was just biding his time until the TCU job opened up. And, you know, so it's one of those deals. Kirk is one of – I don't know if you guys got to watch him a lot during the College World Series when they'd have the headset on him, but he's just a genuine dude with a really low heart rate. And he's a player's coach. You know, he's played a lot, and he's a guy that, you know, has played at the highest level. And so he marries kind of a California cool with a really intense guy at the same time, and guys love playing for him. And, you know, getting to this College World Series, I will tell you, from a recruiting standpoint, though, when all those guys got to see him basically give a recruiting pitch with the way he conducted himself. If I'm coaches around the country, I'm nervous because, you know, that's going to be a big draw for a lot of kids. Kirk's always been a big draw, and it's going to be even more so now.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was planning on asking you. I think he probably turned some heads and made a lot of new fans with his appearances. I really do. It seemed like every time he got on there, if I was on social media, people were talking about what a cool coach. He seems like a blast, or like really enjoyed listening to that guy. And you don't see that all the time.
No, you don't. And for me, it's interesting. I've had to fill in on several of those coaches shows, right? From my, the Gary Patterson era, which, those were always a little scary. And then, the football coaches are kind of strange. I've done Sonny Dykes, and he's a different cat. He's really nice and kind. And, but to do the one this year with Kirk, I got to know him really well. I've known him for a long time, and he's always been really kind to me and kind to my boys. And, but I got to know him kind of on a deeper level this year, and everything you see is genuine, and the guy knows baseball, you don't pitch in the big leagues for as long as he did with the stuff that he had. I mean, keep in mind, he wasn't an overpowering guy, but he had to be really crafty. And, we're really glad to have him. And I can tell you when Schlosser left and I'll say this too about Schloss. Schloss is a phenomenal guy as well, and it was time for a change of scenery for him. And if there's a TCU fan that's angry with him about it, they're wrong. I mean, he left that program in so much better shape than he sounded. It's kind of funny, and so it's been fun to watch Kirk pick up the reins after Jim left and take them to where they got to. Just a few minutes ago. God, it's hard to believe that game ended the way it did.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate your time. I mean, one last thing for me on Omaha. I mean, you've seen a lot of these teams, and obviously Florida just now up close and personal as the field starts to whittle down. What were your thoughts on the Gators and just kind of maybe what else you saw as far as who's remaining still in the field?
Anytime you play a team that when they're basically their 2 through 7 guys get up, and you got a lump in your throat because, at any time that ball is going to leave the yard. I mean, that shows you what a great pitching performance that was for that TCU staff today, because that's those dudes. I mean, that Florida lineup, top to bottom, is as dangerous as there is. And, I would say maybe second only to Wake. I mean, Wake is scary good, and their pitching is just ridiculous. And so it's almost like, hey, congratulations, buddy. You get to go to the finals and play, either Wake or LSU, which, by the way, is what was widely regarded as the best team in the country halfway through this season. So, to make it into that Final Four, TCU is not in the position of, sentimental trophies or, hey, we're happy getting there at the end. I mean, they've been knocking on the door enough where eventually they're going to kick it down and win a national championship in something. I just have to believe it. You don't just linger around that long enough. But, to make it into the Final Four after what they went through this season, and, to be talked about amongst what are, in my opinion, probably 2, if not 3 of the greatest college baseball teams in the last 20 years anyway, it's a big deal, man. And they played Florida right off their feet. So I couldn't have been more impressed with Florida, but I was really impressed with the way the Frogs handled them.
All right, so there's this thing called football that's around the corner. Big 12 Media Days, like 3 weeks away, I believe, up in Arlington. And TCU, even though Kansas State, the defending Big 12 champion, the toast of a lot of what they did in the Big 12, and then also getting to the championship game where it didn't end well. And there's this thought, Landry, that, well, the cupboard is dry or the cupboard is empty. And I know that's not the case. They do lose some dudes now. But your thoughts about Spike Dykes and recircling the wagons and what they have coming back?
Well, if Spike comes back, that's going to be a miracle.
I'm sorry. Oh, my God. Amazing. Sonny. Yeah.
But no, I just messing. I know it's mess. Sonny, Sonny's going to have them ready. I mean, they're going to reload and be ready to rock and roll. But like any season, though, and guys, Baylor was a prime example of this last year. That Baylor team was really talented, but they struggled in one spot. They struggled at quarterback, and you just can't do that and play elite football. And so, if Chandler Morris can pick up the reins and play really good and be really accurate and do the things that he needs to do, then there's no reason TCU can't be back in that Big 12 championship / kind of playoff discussion. There really isn't. They've upgraded in some spots. They've got, some key spots they have to replace. Obviously at corner, losing the Thorpe Award winner and Travis Hodges-Tomlinson and, replacing some of the D linemen and things like that. But from a skill position standpoint, they're going to be better, which is really interesting to say. And then, in a lot of cases, I think there's going to be there's going to be some surprises. Some of these transfers, some of these guys who come in. I think you guys are going to be impressed. And there's some young guys that I've seen during spring ball that I'm pretty excited about. But I really do think the Big 12 top to bottom this year is going to be really interesting. It's going to be a challenge. I think Baylor's going to be a lot better. I think with the addition of Houston and Cincinnati and some of those guys, I don't think Cincinnati's going to be very good, but I think BYU has a chance to be really good. And so, as I sit back and you guys are talking about Big 12 Media Days coming up in 3 weeks, I haven't even thought about that, man. That's right around the corner.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, this is just going to be one hell of a football year. And I'm moving up to the booth this year. John Denton retired, and so I'm going to be doing color with Estridge, and I'm excited about that challenge as well.
Congratulations.
Good for you, man. That's
cool.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. I know what Estridge thinks about you, and what he thought about John as well. We've known him a long time, too, so congratulations on the move.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited about it. John's been really good to me. He's been a good mentor, and, it's always good to have a little change of pace, so I'm excited about it.
Landry, last thing for me, and I know we probably talk to you again at Media Days and get a little more in depth on the football side of things, especially when we have, probably new information from the coaches to talk about and all of that. But what do you think will be the most noticeable difference offensively? And obviously Sonny's got his hand all in that pot as well, but making the change occurring at offensive coordinator now and Kendall Browse coming in, does this look pretty much like exactly what we saw last year with the change in personnel, or does it have some pretty unique differences to it?
I think the differences will be a little more subtle. From what I've seen, he's going to get the ball out a lot quicker, which plays well to Chandler Morris's strength. He's good at that. There'll still be a really big emphasis on the run game. You're going to see a lot of vertical threat. They're going to challenge defenses and try to throw the ball downfield. But, it's not going to look a whole lot different. I think they may run a little faster pace. At times TCU would go with pace. At times they wouldn't last year. And, so it's going to be interesting to see. I think we'll have a lot better feel for that, once they get through kind of the fall camp and you kind of see how the personnel's shaking out, because that's the one thing about Sonny. I'll give him a lot of credit. I mean, he's a chameleon. He can adapt to, a lot of different things. He's got a lot of different offensive philosophies that he's kind of learned and studied over the years, and that's what makes him good. He's able to kind of make some changes based on how his personnel's shaking out. But they got the wide receiver transfer from Oklahoma State that really looked good in spring. And guys, I don't have my notes from me. I can't remember.
Paul Richardson.
Gosh almighty. Yeah, thank you. John Paul Richardson. He looks really good in camp. And of course, Savion Williams is a Quentin Johnson clone. I mean, same size and speed and everything else. And so, they're going to be scary. They got a couple of Alabama transfers, and Kendall definitely has a lot of weapons to work with.
Landry, go sip on a drink or something after that loss. I know it's like too soon, but really, we appreciate you jumping in with us. It was right after that thing ended. We appreciate your time and the insight with baseball, but also with what Sonny Dykes has in the football team coming up in 2023.
No problem, guys. Happy to hop on with you anytime. Thanks for having me.
Landry Burdine, TCU Sideline Reporter, also does the Kirk Solos, the coach.